How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today I'm going to be demonstrating how and why you should build a moleworm farm. So let's cover the basics to begin with. What are moleworms and what can they do for you? Moleworms were introduced in the Don't Starve Reign of Giants DLC for the single-player game, and they have been expanded into the multiplayer as well. When you kill a moleworm, they yield one morsel, and when you dig up one of their burrows, it will yield at least one mineral. To give you an idea of what you can use them for, let's go ahead and start digging up their burrows. Like that. Dig up another one. As you can see, we're getting minerals from this. And now you might be thinking, oh, you're destroying all of those burrows. Isn't that quite limited? Once you destroy all these burrows, what can these moleworms do for you now? Well, the thing is, if the moleworm is not inside the burrow when you dig it up, they will actually go ahead and create another one. And all these minerals that I'm currently getting out of them will be reissued, so to speak, and will appear in their new burrow as well. So you're not really losing anything by digging these burrows up, providing the moleworm that resides in them has left it. And moleworms leave their burrows during the evening and night parts of the day. And by doing this, you can essentially mine yourself an unlimited amount of minerals, providing you have a shovel to dig them all up with. And every time you dig one up, the moleworm will just go ahead and re-dig another one in a very short span of time. It's like 10 seconds maybe. After you dig up their burrow, they'll go ahead and create another one. The other one is actually going to be killing moleworms. So for example, right now, it is now dusk, and I'm just going to drop down my gold mineral right there. It could be any mineral really, it doesn't have to be just gold. And now we're going to wait for a moleworm to come by, like that, and then we're going to whack it until it dies. As you can see, I got a morsel from that. And you might be wondering, well, why did you kill the moleworm? I won't be able to respawn the burrows that I was digging up before. Well, the thing is, you don't have to worry about killing them really. If their burrow is down, they will respawn automatically after 2.5 days. They have basically the same respawn rate as a rabbit does. So after 2.5 days, the moleworms that I just killed there will respawn from their burrows, providing I don't go ahead and dig their burrows up. So if you're looking at this in terms of something that you would want to farm, first it would be ideal to go ahead and do some mass digging in terms of digging up their burrows, and then afterwards kill them all off. And you'll have a whole bunch of minerals from digging up those burrows and a whole bunch of morsels from killing off all the moleworms. And if you come back in 2.5 to 3 days, all of the moleworms will have respawned and you'll be able to do it all over again. These are like entry-level uses for moleworms. Moleworms have more uses than just these two, but these are like two very good uses that will get you as a player started and motivated to build your own moleworm farm. Well, let's go ahead and whack a moleworm or two. To get a moleworm out of the ground, one thing you can use is minerals. Just drop a mineral somewhere and watch them all flock towards it. If you have a hammer equipped, you can whack the moleworm with it. And this will cause them to... Okay, let's go ahead and whack that moleworm. It will cause them to just flop up on the ground like that, instead of actually getting killed. And this is how you go about transplanting it. So once you have a moleworm in your inventory, you can, and here are a couple of options, you can drop it back on the ground, and this will allow it to go back to its burrow. If you dug up the burrow that it was in before, it will create a new one in the local region that you just dropped it in. So in other words, if I drop the moleworm here and I've already dug up its burrow, it will create it somewhere in that area. If I travel to another part of the map and I drop it down and I've dug up its burrow, it will create a burrow in that area of the map. So in other words, I could transplant them over here, and that's sort of what you see going on in this area of the map. I have transplanted a whole bunch of moleworms into this area. Now I know it was rather common to see people create moleworm farms with walls in the single player version of Don't Starve, but one thing that I've noticed in general is that it works much better if you have a nice bit of land to just throw them down in, because too frequently, if the moleworm does not find a suitable location within the walled area, they will continually dig against the walls and never create a burrow. In the single-player version of the game, this could be overcome simply by logging out and then logging back in, but since that's no longer an option in Don't Starve Together, you're just generally better off finding a nice little peninsula like what is going on right here and using that as a moleworm farm rather than trying to do anything with walls. One of the more advanced techniques, and this was actually what got me interested in doing a video about moleworms, is getting them to multiply. This has always been tricky because in the single player version of the game, you actually had to sort of glitch the game out by logging out of the game, then logging back in with a moleworm in your inventory to sort of untether it from its hole. So if, for example, and I need to drop this mineral down right here, I'm going to whack a moleworm as soon as one pops up. Okay, there we go. Now I have a moleworm in my inventory. We can use it to multiply how many moleworms we have. And we can do this and don't stop together by using bundling wrap. So if you right click on bundling wrap, it opens up and you can put up to 4 moleworms in there. Then wrap them. And once they're wrapped, it will now no longer associate that moleworm with its previous burrow, which means that we can go take this moleworm to another location, drop it down on the ground, and it will produce another one of its own burrows. So let's go ahead and unwrap it. There's the moleworm. Oops, just drop that in the ground over here. And now it should, as soon as it gets over being stunned like that, it should go ahead and create another burrow because I used the bundling wrap on it. And keep in mind, I did not dig up its original burrow. See, there you can see it created its own burrow already. Very nice. And that is exactly how you can get moleworms to multiply and don't starve together. Two alternative, albeit much less dependable methods of renewing the moleworms involves both tumbleweeds and earthquakes while in the caves or ruins. In regards to tumbleweeds, every time you harvest one, there is a 0.1% chance that it could yield a moleworm, which when placed upon the ground will go ahead and dig its own burrow. If you are either in the caves or the ruins, there is the potential that an earthquake will occur. This is influenced by various factors beyond the scope of this video, but when an earthquake occurs, there is a chance that a moleworm will drop to the ground as part of that earthquake. The moleworm will be in a stunned state, and if left as is, it will eventually dig its own burrow as well, thereby increasing your total population of moleworms. Obviously, neither of these two methods by any means replicate the dependability of the bundling wrap. So there you have a big circle of life going on. You know what moleworms can be used for on a base level. You have a general idea on how to relocate them. You also have a good idea on how to actually contain them. And now you also know how to multiply them. Now, it should be noted that the techniques that I have discussed in this video are by no means pioneered by myself. Much of the information I sourced was off of the wiki. It should also be noted that there are by far more advanced strategies that involve moleworms, as moleworms are one of the most utilitarian living things that are currently available in the game. So this was pretty much a low-level introduction to moleworms and what they can do for the average player. If you're interested in more advanced techniques, I would recommend you check out a Reddit post that I'll be linking in the description below this video. The author concisely lists quite a few of the different tactics that can be used, although several of them do not work and don't starve together, and they're single-player exclusives. Let me know in the comment section below what your favorite use for the moleworm is, and otherwise thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.